Very good. So I do want to welcome everybody this evening or this afternoon. Thank you for joining us. We are looking forward to having our first grant management webinar for First Nations launch. And I hope it's going to be insightful and perhaps help your teams to be able to navigate the management of your grants a little bit easier. So let's just see. Excellent. I'm going to be hosting today's webinar. We are recording it and Sarah's on top of it, so she will be uploading it to the website as quickly as she is able to. Give her at least 24 hours, but she'll do her best to get it up for you right away. And as she has put in the chat, please type your name and your school in the chat. I'm going to add one more item, and that is if you are not the advisor or the team lead, please put in your role at the school. That just might help us if we can help you to be able to answer any questions, because I do see a couple different names on here. So just want to make sure that we were able to help you throughout the period of performance for the FNL grant. So with that being said, if you have questions, feel free to type them into the chat. Sarah will be monitoring that, and we will try to answer them as we go along. If I need to, I will stop, but we will have an opportunity for questions at the end of the presentation. So let's get started. So what are we going to cover today? How to add team members to the rocket launch team, your Create NOI on the website, how to add a co-advisor to your FNL NOI application, how to add an authorized user from your grants office if you have selected to submit an invoice through your college or university, how to upload documents to the grant management page, what is the period of performance for your award, what method of reimbursement requests are available to the teams, and when should you invoice WSGC or submit a reimbursement request? How do you fill out the project and travel expense forms? And how do you fill out the invoice template? And then lastly, how do you submit invoices, requests for federal funds and cost share? So we're going to take each one of these step by step and hopefully give you the answers that you might be looking for to your questions. So first of all, how do I add a team member to the First Nations launch notice of intent to compete? And one of the things that happens throughout the process is you may, when you submitted your NOI, you may have thought I might have 3 team members, maybe I have 6, maybe I don't have any yet. And then come in January when a new semester begins, maybe the original 3 to 5 people that you thought were going to be on the team have now changed to a different set of students. And so you want to know, where do I put that information? So to add a team member, so you should be completing this step initially at the time of the application, but it's something that you can do all throughout the process or the length or the duration of your award. So the PI, which would be the faculty advisor, is going to log into their account, and they are going to select Manage Application, and we'll select Rocket Launch Team Create NOI. And by doing so, you will see, as displayed on the screen, team members. And you can add or remove a team member in this section. So if you press the green button, you'll be able to add a member. If you press the minus, you will be able to deselect that individual from your roster. So remember that team members must register and log in to the website. So it's a 2-step process. It's not, I don't just register, I have to register and apply. And they will be applying to the First Nations launch, First Nations Rocket Launch Competition, and that will be under undergraduate student or graduate student. Those are the 2 roles that they would be selecting to apply to the program. And the one thing that team members will have to upload to their page will be a media release form. So how do I add a co-advisor? And This we just found out today. There was a little bit of a change, so it may be different on the website, but we'll be updating that as quickly as we can. So how do I add a co-advisor? So the first step is the co-advisor must register with WSGC. Then once the co-advisor has registered, then their name may be selected. The PI will go in to their account, they'll select that manage application again, and then select Rocket Launch Team, create NOI. There is a co-advisor area, and in that drop-down list, the PI will, or faculty advisor will type in the individual's name. So you may have to, depending on how that individual submitted their information, you may have to put in, for myself, Christine might be able to go in there first, and it'll pull up Christine Bolz, or you might have to put Bolz in first, and then it would be Bolz, Christine. So I would suggest trying both. If that does not work, that probably means that the co-advisor has not registered on the WSGC website yet. So how do I add an authorized user? And this is the same for both the co-advisor and the authorized user. These two individuals, once selected, will have access to the files that need to be uploaded for your award. And so it's a great tool to take a little bit of the load and the responsibility off of the faculty advisor and quote unquote spread the wealth a little bit. And so how do I add an authorized user for the as a grants officer so that they can upload the award acceptance material for me? They could upload the invoice or reimbursement requests that need to be submitted later on. They'll be able to do both of that. So very similar, the grants officer must register with WSGC. And once they have done that, then the PI or faculty advisor can go into their account, select manage application, then select Rocket Launch Team, create NOI, and then they will see grants officer from the drop-down list. If you do not see the grants officer listed in the drop-down, same thing, they must not have completed step 1. And so you can see the authorized user is where you will put that grants officer's name. So how do I upload documents to the grant management page? So the PI, faculty advisor, and the co-advisor log into their account. Again, select manage application, select Rocket Launch Team, or the team lead can log into their account as well, following the same steps, except instead of selecting Rocket Launch Team, because that's only available for faculty and professionals, they would select First Nations Launch or First Nations Rocket Launch Competition. And by doing so, they will be able to see all of the fields that you see on the screen right now. Now, if you are an advisor or a co-advisor or a team lead and you don't see these files listed on your grant management page, please contact Connie. There's a little button that we have to click on the back end, and if we haven't clicked it, that means you're not going to be able to see those files. And so usually that's the simplest thing for us to do, and you're able to have everything available to you at your fingertips. And so you will see here two things. You'll see current grant cycle applications. That's where you're going to find the Rocket Launch Team and the information or fields that you need to upload your documents to. There's also a section called personally identifiable information. This information is only viewable by yourself. So those other individuals do not have access to this information. So as an advisor, your team lead, your co-advisor is not going to be able to see anything that is listed under PII. And that will be individual for each person who is linked to this management site. So you can upload PDFs, RKT, which is for your RockSim, URLs, JPEGs to the appropriate field. And if you notice, you will see under optional files, the second red circle, institutional W-9, and it's telling you this is for a PDF, and that is the type of file that must be uploaded in that section. Photos, just a reminder that each team should be uploading at least 2 to 3 photos of the team members in action during the design, build, fly stages. And so that's an up close and personal picture where it's engaging, and those are pictures that we use on our website, in our banners for next year, our posters, or when talking to Congress to get more funding, or NASA. So please make sure that you are also uploading files to that photos section. If you have a need, you want to upload a file and there is not a field, I'm going to go back just one slide. And you can see here that we have award acceptance, we have budget, we have partial reimbursement, we have preliminary design review, but you're not seeing fly sheet. We're in the process of having that uploaded. So if you need to submit a fly sheet and there's not a field, you would select optional files and upload that file to file 1 if that's blank. If that's not blank, go to file 2. And if that's not blank, go to file 3. So utilize these optional files when there is not a field available. I am going to recommend to you, if you are submitting your award acceptance material, many times what we see is the team lead is submitting there's a separate file for the team lead and a separate file for the team advisor. Combine those both of those documents into one document and submit it under award acceptance so that it only takes up one space. And then if you need these optional files, they're going to be available. It'll be the same thing for, and we'll go over this in just a moment, but your reimbursement requests or invoices, making all of those into one document when you submit them. It's cleaner for us and easier for us to be able to do the next step on our end. And it also, like I said, keeps things clean on the management side. So what is the period of performance for the award? The period of performance. So the award begin date for Moon and Mars, which is primarily what we're all kind of talking about, is that October 29th, 2021. Which means then that your expenditure begin date is October 29th, 2021, with one caveat that if you choose between October 29th and November 19th, the date that the award acceptance is due, to spend money, but then you decide, well, maybe I don't want to participate in this program after all, then any money that you've spent will not be reimbursable. So making sure that you get in your official award acceptance and is important so that everything that you spend is reimbursable. So you have from the award begin date to the award end date, and that would be your final date to be able to spend money. Okay, I have Gateway up here, and now that I think about it, some of you may have already been accepted into Gateway. So the same thing is gonna, what I would suggest to you is look on your award letter for the award begin date. And that is the date to which you can start spending money, okay? What method of reimbursement requests are available for the teams? And I get a lot of questions about this. I know most of you have submitted your award acceptance materials, but I still want to go over it so you understand it a little bit better. So there are 5 different options that you can submit your reimbursement requests. The first one being through the university or college. So it's set up just like a grant. And in the reimbursement procedure would require the WSGC invoice / cost sharing reporting form. And then it requires a signature from an authorized organizational representative at your campus. So many times that's could be the grant accountant, it could be the controller, it could be, you know, a senior finance individual. It really depends on what your college authorizes or has established. If you have a student organization, same thing. Many times those student organizations are going through the college and have their accounts set up through the college, so you would go through the same process. If you have international status, you don't have to submit any forms because we do not have the ability to fund your team through the NASA funding. If you're BIE funded, you also will not have to submit forms or signatures. In this, there's really only 2 campuses that fall into this area. And if they do choose to be reimbursed, many times they're going through a foundation versus through the university. If you selected individual reimbursement methods, then you are going to submit the project and travel expense forms that we have on the website. And that will require 3 signatures: the advisor, the team lead, and the individual, in order to be reimbursed. So when should I invoice WSGC? So the partial reimbursement / invoice should be submitted to WSGC by March 4th, 2022. And then a final reimbursement invoice should be submitted by May 9th, 2022. So we do not follow the fiscal year. So if you work with a grants office on your campus, you're typically used to having to submit quarterly invoices. With this program, we have not set it up that way. So the 2 dates are March 4th and May 9th. So how do I fill out the travel project expense form? We've got lots of colors and a lot of detail. And this is already up on the website, so you do have it at your it's accessible. So when you are completing the expense form, some things that you want to consider, and I tried to color coordinate it. Your date of purchase, whatever the date is, you want to make sure that you have put a circle around that and you highlight it. And then you will have a travel start date and a travel end date on the expense form. And so you want to make sure that both of those items are listed, or dates are listed. And then you have the total purchase. So there is a total purchase on your receipt that you should be circling so that we can find it very easily. And then you'll see also that there will be a total price on your travel expense form. And then you will also include those total prices on the individual lines. Please remember, you do not need to show the itemization, only the total cost on the expense form. If you are purchasing, let's say, food, lodging, ground transportation for more than one individual, every person that is covered on that receipt being paid for must be listed. So you see here we have Jane Doe, Jack Doe, John Doe, Julie Doe, Jim Doe, June Doe, Jill Doe, Josh Doe, I can't even say it all. So listing each one of their names on the receipt. We will need itemized receipts. So you know that if you typically go to the restaurant, you have one receipt that will list all of the meals. And then there's another receipt that is just the subtotal that you signed for the credit card. We need to have the itemized list. Some of the things that we're going to look for is, did you purchase alcohol? Because if you purchased alcohol, we cannot reimburse you for that on your expense. Did you keep your tip within 20%? If you've gone over 20%, we will not be able to reimburse you for that extra, the extra amount. And then along with your travel expense form, you want to include a Google map that lists to and from. So where was I going to and where was I coming from? You are going to, for this year, now it may change with the new year, but currently the mileage reimbursement rate is 56 cents per mile. So as you're calculating, that's the number that you're going to use. And then you want to include your purpose. What were you doing? So were you traveling to the FNL competition? Were you heading to a local launch site to conduct a test flight? You'll need to have that information on the Google map. And then if you need to round your numbers, if it is a 0.5 mile, you round down, and if it's 0.6 or higher, you round up. So 57.6 miles would end up being 58 miles. Let me rephrase that. In here, 57.6 times 2. So if you put in 115.2, then it will be 115 miles. So if you are traveling over 100 miles, the preferred method of transportation is to secure a rental vehicle because it ends up being less expensive. So really these guidelines are based upon the Carthage College travel policy. And so in working with the federal grants, we have to adhere to the most restrictive. So it's either what NASA provides for us or what the college provides for us. And so these are the requirements on our campus. And we ask that you adhere to the most restrictive one, which is what we are putting forth here. So hotel limitations, remembering that if you are traveling, we have a block of rooms for FNL, giving each team 3 nights for 3 rooms for 3 nights that is paid through WSGC. There is not an option to stay at a different hotel and have us reimburse you. So it is required that you stay within that block. And then, so just please keep that in mind. Flight limitations. If you are flying from, we're just going to go Hawaii because it's the farthest and the longest, and you really don't want to sit in economy, and you think you might want some more leg room or you might want to do a seat upgrade, we are unable to reimburse you for those amenities. We have to go with the lowest economy price. So if you are searching for your flight, and let's say the economy happens to be 600, but maybe you can go up a class and for some reason it's $563. If you can show proof with that, then that would be reimbursable, that it was actually less to take that option than the other way. Otherwise, we will not be able to reimburse you, okay? If you need these forms, they are on the website, again, under tools and tips. So what about project expenses? So I'm buying a bunch of materials, and that is going to be submitted on a separate form. And so you do want to make sure, and I forgot to highlight this, but up on the right-hand side, you're going to see, please make check payable to. So complete that information so we know where to send the check as we set up vendors, et cetera, in our own business process at Carthage College. So things that you're going to want to remember. As you submit your invoices, each receipt will have a number. And as you can see on this one, it is number 2. You will also need to circle the date that the purchase was made. So on this particular receipt, it was made in 2015. Boy, this is a little old now, but we put that 11/17/15 as the date of the purchase. The vendor was Walmart, and the items that we purchased were masks and wood sticks, and the amount was $18.12. So you want to make sure that you've completely filled out this form all the way across. And then the total, you'll want to confirm that the total amount is correct at the bottom of the page. It should automatically calculate, but sometimes forms do some crazy things. So you just want to make sure that you have that. And then you want to initial and date the receipt. Then at the bottom of your form, you are going to include your signature, your phone number, and the date that you signed or submitted this request. And that will be the same for the team member, the team lead, the team advisor. So if I am a team lead, I only need to have the team lead signature and the team advisor signature. And if I am the team advisor, I only need, of course, to have the team advisor signature. So how do I fill out the invoice template? Let's say you're choosing to be reimbursed not as individuals, but as an institution or a student group. We have a form called the Invoice Cost Sharing Reporting Form, and that again is on the Tools and Tips page. And you are going to fill this out. So your grant number will be your FNL 22 underscore 0.0, 1.0, 2.0, whatever your award number was. That's the number that you're going to put in that spot. Your period of performance will be your award begin date and your award end date. The organization, what university you're from. So are you from Fort Lewis College? Then you would put Fort Lewis College in that organization area. The invoice reference number. If your college has a invoice number, that number is what you're going to put there. So let's say it's GR 2020, grant from 2020. That would be the number that you would put there. If you don't have an invoice or reference number, sorry, then you would put NA, not applicable. Next, in the reporting area, if you are doing the partial reimbursement, right? So that's going to be submitted in March. You will check Q3 and partial. If you are submitting the reimbursement request in May, you are going to select Q4 and final. Under WSGC, the funds awarded will be $4,000. If your campus has selected to incorporate the advisor's stipend within that funded award and what they're going to reimburse through, that number could go from $4,000 to $4,500 or $5,000. And your cost share funds committed will be zero. There is no requirement for cost share on this award. How do I submit WSGC invoices, reimbursement requests for federal funds? So when you go to your grant management page, you are going to upload on that Rocket Launch Team Grant Management page the invoice as one PDF. So you're going to combine everything. Please do not submit that as a PDF portfolio, but use the Adobe's Combine tool. So everything is as one PDF and not separate pages. Institutions should submit the partial and the final invoice cost share report. If $0 have been spent at partial invoice reporting time, they should submit an invoice that says 0. And that way we know that there aren't any funds that need to be reimbursed in a timely manner. The reimbursement request package should include the invoice with federal funds for the reimbursement period and the cumulative expenditures. So let's just say you've spent $2,500 in March, and then you spend the additional $1,500 in May. So you are going to have the current cost at $1,500, but your cumulative will be the $4,000. And then you will need to supply all supporting documentation for federal funds. And it is a requirement that if invoices are submitted, that the campus will need to hold on to these receipts. I believe it is for 3 years beyond the end of the grant. So if the grant ends in 2024, currently it would be till 2027. If the grant is extended, then it could be go on farther than that. So here's some key things. We as a team cannot process your invoices if they're incomplete or missing signatures, if they've been uploaded incorrectly to the grant management page, if they include expenses that are outside of the approved budget, if there was a budget submitted, or outside of the period of performance. Everything must be reasonable and allowable for us to be able to reimburse it. If it's missing the supporting documentation, if it was submitted to us via email versus your grant management page, we need to have it uploaded to the grant management page. And if it has included expenses for student team members, co-advisors who have not completed the application process. This is an important part. So if we are at March and you're submitting your reimbursement and there is a team member who has not completed the application process, we are not going to be able to reimburse you until that is complete. So you do, as an advisor, want to make sure that every person on your team has registered. And I do believe that you see that at the bottom of your grant management page. So they will need to register on the website. They have to complete the appropriate application. That the PI, the faculty advisor, has uploaded the award acceptance, the signed media release, the individual W-9, and if going through the college, is going to need to submit the institutional W-9 so that those invoices can be paid out. The co-advisor must sign a media release form and upload the individual W-9. The team lead must upload a signed media release form. And the team, in addition, and I forgot to put this, I do believe they have an award and acceptance that they need to upload as well. And then the team members should upload their signed media form. So a few additional notes. Check your award letter for closeout date and the document required for closeout. Always go back to the award letter. That will be a great resource for you. So common award documents that are going to be required at the end when you submit that final reimbursement would be your post-launch assessment report, those photos that we talked about a little bit earlier, and then that final reimbursement request. And remember, they should be uploaded properly to your grant management page. And at this time, I am happy to take questions. Well, if not any questions, then I do want to thank everybody for joining us. If there's any way we can answer any further questions for you, please let us know. We will get this put up on the website for you, and so that it is available and helpful. Our next webinar is, Connie, do you have that information?
Yes, the next webinar is the 14th, and it's on structures.
Perfect.
There's one on project management next week.
Yep. Next week is project management. And that will be hosted by Orson John from NASA Goddard. And he will be presenting that for us. And then structures is going to be hosted by, can you remind me? Is that
Me.
Mark? Excellent. Thanks for the reminder. We have received your proposals. We'll be going over those and getting a feedback out to you as quickly as we can.